Oh no. Make Terran great again. Buff this.
Hello, my friends, what's up?
HeroMarine made a balance patch. Do we want to keep looking at these balance update suggestions? Because there have been quite a few over the last few weeks. Now, obviously, HeroMarine is an actual high-ranking pro gamer.
After the last video where we ranted about Pig's balance proposal, I created my own little list, my balance proposal. Please watch the entire—
I already hate it. I'm sorry, HeroMarine, but just glancing at the first couple of changes, I already hate it. But let's listen.
Before you judge, trust me, it makes a lot of sense. Let's just get started. So these are the first changes. Things might change, but as you can see, my goals, they are very positive for the game. I want to have more variety in the game. I want to make units more useful again, and because of that, we're gonna have a lot of strong changes, mainly buffs. So let's get started with Terran. I think the current Cyclone is not that much fun to use. So I would like to have the last Cyclone back. I mean, the current Cyclone is bugged as well, you know, like...
Let's stop changing the Cyclone every 3 minutes, okay? The Cyclone is like the most changed unit in the last 5 years. It's still kind of weird. Maybe just remove the bug that it's currently got, where the lock-on is way too strong.
Nobody likes it, like... Zerg say it's like so overpowered with like the bug. So let's just revert it back to the old Cyclone. I think that makes a lot of sense because that gives Blizzard...
Bro, he's got to be trolling. There's no way.
...of room to like actually fix the bug. I feel like if we just change it back to what it was originally in the last patch, there's a chance that maybe the bug will be fixed, and then Zergs are obviously happy. Then we have our...
How about actually fixing the bug?
The Cyclone back, which also makes it more useful again, obviously against Protoss, as I think it was quite powerful against Protoss. We saw a lot of Cyclone openings, some nice cheeses. I mean, cheese play is just a lot of fun to see. So I'd really like to bring the, not the old Cyclone, but the Cyclone from the last patch back. I think that would make a lot of things better in the game. For Withermines, I actually agree with Pig's change, and Harstem also suggested that. The Withermine should be invisible again after the armory is done. So
look, this is... A lot of people have been talking about this, right? So back in the day, having an armory made Widowmines invisible. And a lot of people are saying they should bring that back. I don't really know if I like that too much. Maybe move the upgrade from the tech lab on the factory to the armory instead. I think that would be a lot easier,
but Dragoons would be a great addition.
You think Dragoons? Nah, I like Stalkers better. Nah, I think I like Stalkers better. You know, I think Brood War kind of nailed it with a lot of the unit design. But Stalkers definitely are the more fun unit in my mind. Especially while going up and down ramps.
Instead of getting like drilling claws to make it invisible, just get an armory. And I also did a small splash in like radius increase from 1.5 to 2.0 to bring it at a reasonable value. It's just a small change from 1.5.
Dude, I just read this when I opened the screen. There's no way he's like, that is, there's no way, dude. A radius increase from 1.5 to 2.0 is massive. Like, that is...
5 to like 2.0. It's not gonna be like the
unless you buff everything else.
Biggest difference. I mean, if you see my other changes.
Hey, thank you by the way for the resub, Mr. Smiley.
Realize how much sense this actually makes. I think that way Withermines would become more useful against, especially against Protoss, and the invisibility, yeah, it's not a big problem. It's completely fine, and to compensate for it, I increased the cost of the armory. Armory should be more expensive again. I mean, if you buff Withermine like that, even if it's just a small change from like 1.5 to like 2.0. I feel like you at the same time have to also like nerf something. Obviously, I don't want to nerf a lot of things, so I just thought like increasing the cost of the armory and make it a third more expensive in gas is actually quite a lot. And yeah, that will make like cheeses, like annoying cheeses, less prominent, let's say. But obviously we want to have like some more cheeses back. What we do have is a build time decrease on the bunker. We can bunker rush again. Bunker rush kind of fell flat. So I kind of do want to bring it back. And then the last change is actually pretty simple. A barracks shouldn't require a supply depot to be built. It should
once upon a time, the barracks did not require a supply depot. A really long time ago. Once upon a time, the requirement to make a barracks was to have a command center. Unless you buff Protoss and Zerg tremendously as well, this is insane.
Via the command center, that should be the requirement to build a CC. Like I said, I kind of want to build or get bunker rushes back into the game. And I think we're in the state.
I think if you do this, the only thing you're gonna get is bunker rushes. It would certainly bring bunker rushes back into the game. Yes.
More proxy ranks should be back into the game. Makes for more strategies and makes more fun. No, I mean, I'm obviously kidding. I think I made it obvious enough, I hope, with these changes.
Okay.
I don't actually have any other changes. I wrote down Ghost as a little bit of a bait. I actually ended up not using this. But no, we don't make balanced proposals here. This is a joke, if it wasn't obvious enough. The small change from 1.5 to 2.0 should not happen. I am not going to make any balance proposal. Now the real part of the video starts.
A little bit of tomfoolery, huh? Yeah, a little bit of bait.
In my opinion, are stupid. We're not game designers. I'm a pro gamer. I'm not a game designer. So what is the difference between a game designer and a pro? Well, the game designer is a full-time job that takes care of these tasks. And me as a pro, I'm good.
Look, who should be in charge of balance, right? Should it be pro gamers? Should it be content creators? Should it be random Reddit users? Should it be all of the guys in Twitch chat? Should we have one supreme ruler that basically dictates the entire state of the game? The only correct answer is that there should be a team at Blizzard that takes input from all of those sources and then actually, boils it down to what players need and what players want. That's the main crux of the whole matter, though, because there is nobody at Blizzard that is actively working on StarCraft 2. This is what we keep coming back to, man. And it's incredibly frustrating. Don't get me wrong, a team at Blizzard wouldn't be able to do a perfect job either. But it's not good.
At the game, I can give you some input, but it doesn't make me a good game designer, if you know what I mean. So I can tell you what the problems are. I can give you a rough idea. That way, the balance designer can make the changes. So here, for example, we see Hearthstone's balance changes, and you might ask, why did I not make a video about Hearthstone's balance changes, and what do I mean with a pro is not a game designer? Well, if we take a look at Hearthstone's changes, they make sense. If I'm looking at these changes, he wants to sort of nerf overcharge in the early game in particular. He wants to give Dark Templars a little bit more strength. Toss can use them more often again in late game. Sure, I mean, that's fine to me. He wants to give Terran a buff, which is necessary, because me as a pro, I can tell you, Terran and TVP is not good right now. We need a buff. A Woodermine buff like that, good. Yeah, good change. He nerfs Overcharge, he gives the Woodermine strong buff, and he makes Dark Templars slightly, really small buff. So overall, I would say looking at it as a pro, yeah, these changes make sense. And then there's some Zerg stuff as well we see on the list. But what is the problem with this? So the problem with this list is basically that these changes will just not change a lot in the game.
Yep.
What these changes will accomplish is probably a better balance, that's true. But the game will ultimately be the same, and it's no more fun.
It's fine-tuning, right? It's all fine-tuning. That's what we've been doing for I don't know, 3-4 years or so in StarCraft 2. We get some units that are underutilized, the Mothership, right? And the Cyclone has gone through a gajillion changes, but across the board, the broad strokes of the game are still very similar as they were 3 years ago. Heck, even 10 years ago. The broad strokes of every matchup are still mostly similar. I still feel a lot of the creativity is coming mostly from map design. And map designers are generally encouraged to not make too many crazy changes. I feel that would be the easiest way. If Blizzard really, I mean, with the way that Blizzard is doing things right now, I feel map designers may have the biggest impact on making the game more interesting. Because, yeah, it's a lot of fine-tuning. It's a lot of fine-tuning. I'll be at the EWC next week, Gibbon. Yes. I'm flying out on Sunday. So regular streams this week. No streams next week. But obviously next week there will be the Esports World Cup. And then the week after that, I'll be back to my regularly scheduled streams.
Attributes in the game or whatever, it will essentially be the same. So that's kind of the issue with like pro gamers like making changes. That's one thing. These changes are very underwhelming. From like a balance point of view, good changes, they make sense. From like a game design point of view, like if you want to bring like new strategies or whatever, not necessarily these changes make a lot of sense. So why did I choose to make a video on picks changes and not on like Hearthstone changes? Well, pretty simple. From like a pro perspective, when I look at these changes from pick, they're atrocious. Like from a balance point of view, they're absolutely atrocious. Like I said in my previous video, that's the main reason I made that. If you give like the Ghost a light tag, you buff like the Disruptor. In the current state of TVP, these changes would make the balance so bad. And while it's true I didn't watch the entire video and I might not have understood some of the main points of his video, I'm talking from mainly a pro perspective and like the balance. These changes are simply not great from that point of view. I mean, watch my video from last time. I've made a lot of points over there. I don't really want to go in detail.
But obviously the whole point of the pig video is not just to make the game balanced, it is to make the game more interesting too. Right? Like, it's not just to make the game, I don't know, more refined and more boiled down. It is to create more strategic variety. And when you're gonna introduce more strategic variety, when you're gonna introduce more chaos, you're also going to throw the balance out of whack. And usually that's kind of like how the cycle has gone over the years, where Blizzard introduces like some sort of big change, and I'm talking like over like the entirety of the existence of StarCraft 2, right? So for example, Heart of the Swarm gets released, all of the balance is effectively thrown out the window because there's so much new stuff, and then we iterate. Legacy of the Void comes out, all of the balance is thrown out the window, then we iterate. Then they've had like a couple other big releases since then, and like basically all of that is always happening. Now over the last bunch of years, Blizzard obviously hasn't really done anything with StarCraft 2, so we haven't really had any of the, like we've only had the iteration, creating this like really stable game. And the stability is fun, but I feel like for the longevity of the game, it is important to occasionally introduce those chaotic moments. Because it's always like, whenever there's like big changes to the game, at least when I look at like my YouTube analytics and the amount of viewers and just the general interest in StarCraft 2, there's always a peak. Whenever like there's new stupid stuff. Remember, like, when the mothership first got buffed? Like, that's the most recent example, I suppose. And we had people experimenting with, like, 2-base mothership rushes and all that sort of stuff. Even though those builds turned out to be, like, garbage, it was still... It's interesting, right? Because you can basically... The way that StarCraft 2 kind of works right now, sometimes, you can, like, just not watch for, like, a half year and then come back, and it's still like, hey, everything's the same, but slightly more refined. And I don't personally mind it because I fucking love the game, but obviously... You know, the only reason the game still exists is because of general interest and people actually watching. So, yeah, we do need, like, some shakeups every once in a while. And I think that's what Pig's patch is trying to do. Whereas, like, the Hearthstone patch is, like, iterative, right? Like, it's a little bit more progress on what the existing... Oh, yeah, maybe in chess. Chess has been iterative for centuries, dude. I feel like chess... I think the developers of chess are, like, entirely AFK. Like, when's the last patch? The en passant patch? When was that? It's been forever, man.
That as well. Also, another thing I want to mention about Pig's video, these changes, a lot of them are essentially just reverting, oh, I'm going to revert this, I'm going to revert that. So, like, a lot of these changes, I don't think are even going to accomplish anything, like more variety or whatever he wants, more cheese builds and whatever. I feel like a lot of these changes probably don't accomplish that anyways. So ultimately, I just thought these changes were, like, so bad from a balance point of view that I just kind of had to make a video like that. I might have been, like, a little bit too emotional, but I mean, you know me. I didn't cut the video. Maybe I'm gonna cut this video to make it a little bit more, like, valuable. So to go back to my main point on what this video is about, so... essentially, to summarize everything, I realized that when I actually thought about making these joke changes, it takes a lot of work to design a good patch. I actually was seriously thinking, okay, what would I change to make it like look like I'm actually being reasonable here and I'm actually not just making joke changes like I just showed you. And I came to the realization that this is actually extremely hard. It's extremely hard, A, to come up with changes. B, to balance these changes as well. And C, to actually have an impact with these changes, you know.
It is way easier to complain than it is to actually fix stuff. That is with everything.
Actually have more variety, for example. This is the job, I think, of like a game designer that does it full time. And that's what we're lacking. The balance council or like some content creator thinking about changes for a couple hours just doesn't really work out. We need someone like in a full-time position to actually do the job.
You could make the argument. Yeah, so what Lopez is in the chat is saying, like, you could make the argument that maybe having constant changes to the game is actually not good. Maybe stuff should be more like conventional sports, you know? Like, when's the last time football changed? Or when's the last time we had a rules overhaul for basketball? Right? Like, yeah, I can kind of see the point. Football has been broadly the same. I guess they have, like, you know, they have, like, camera referees these days, right? Like, that took a long time. It's such a no-brainer that it highlight. Like, I mean, you know, the football where you actually kick the ball. That took a very long time. The NFL changes stuff on a regular basis. Do they actually? All right, I don't watch a ton of regular sports. The only regular sport that I watch, which is a really weird regular sport, is Formula 1. And Formula 1 changes their rules all the time. Like, the maps change, the circuits get adjusted. The cars obviously have new regulations all the freaking time. It's, I don't know. I think it's fine. Like, especially with an online thing, it's kind of nice to constantly change stuff.
That also knows how to do the job, because it is like a full-time job, essentially. What is also worth mentioning is
But what you got to keep in mind is that Microsoft is only a multi-trillion-dollar company. And that is something that a lot of people don't consider, you know? Like, we need to be investing our own hard-earned time and money and all of our resources to create this perfect patch and then spoon-feed it to the owners of StarCraft.
The main issue with, oh yeah, guys, this is what I would change, or even with the balance council, is that it's mostly theorycraft. We don't have a lot of testing. So for example, if you watch like my patch, like reaction video from last time to this current patch, I did like a reaction and I was like, oh my god, these changes look really good for Terran. What are the tosses doing in the balance council? I said something like that. What are the tosses doing in balance council? This sounds amazing for Terran. Pushes are going to be stronger. Energy overcharge doesn't sound like that powerful. Well, I'm the pro. I was wrong. Suddenly Protoss is like overwhelming in TVP. That is a strong issue. Another issue is that a lot of times I feel like they change the map pool and the patch at the same time, ESL that is. Now I know the interaction with Blizzard is hard. We can't really criticize anything. But I think if you do a balance patch and change the map pool as well, it makes it kind of hard for like understanding like if the patch was actually the issue or like the map pool. Speaking of the map pool, actually, I've also heard different opinions about that. I've heard a lot of, like I said, a lot of like the content creators, they just kind of, at this point, people just say random stuff. Some people say like, we need more variety in the map pool. I feel like we have a lot of cheese maps in the past. We've had a lot of variety over the last couple map pools. And there's like a lot of creative maps. Now, if we do take a look at some of the statistics of recent tournaments, you will find one big issue with like a creative map pool. So these are the statistics from like the last Homestead Cup. And you will find out that in the entire tournament, there have been 176 maps played, and only 2 times Last Fantasy was played. 3-player map, really creative and fun, right? Maganatha only 7 times, Torches only 7 times. So you see a pattern with pro gamers, they just veto like non-standard maps. And I've heard that like a lot of the pro, like people say like, oh yeah, pros hate like these kind of like creative maps. And I can give you the reason why pro gamers veto these maps in tournaments. It's because they are imbalanced. People don't want to play maps like Incorporeal, for example, Terran. Like look at Incorporeal here. It has not been played in a single Terran matchup. It was only played in PvZ. The reason behind that is in PvZ and PvP. And the reason behind that is pretty simple. this is a terrible map for Terran. I don't want to play it. I'm just gonna veto it. Now it's not a non-standard map, so I guess we're gonna have to like talk about Last Fantasy. This is where I have to start a new rant. I'm not gonna go into the rant of like Last Fantasy, but I can guarantee you that this map is creative, but because of it being a 3-player map, it has actually a huge symmetry issue, and at the same time it's like imbalanced. This map is not great. But anyways, I don't want to talk like too much about the map pool. Maybe that's for another video. Leave a comment. Tell me if you want to hear that. Let's talk about my opinion on StarCraft 2 design to quickly end the video here. So I think when it comes to StarCraft design...
Maps are interesting, right? So I think maps can indeed bring a lot of creativity. But if we... So the main problem is not so much that programmers don't want to play creative maps. It's that the maps that are creative usually are also terrible balance-wise. So if you look at some of those maps, like Last Fantasy, it has statistics actually on the Wikipedia page that keep track of all of the games, all of the tournament games played on it. So apparently in total, only 120 games have been played in tournaments on Last Fantasy across the board. And Terran, apparently in Terran versus Zerg, has about a 2 out of 3 win rate. Zerg is winning 40%-ish of the time against Protoss, and TVP apparently is fine most of the time, but I mean, the sample size is not really big enough to really draw any proper conclusions. So long story short, it seems like it's just not an ideal map for Protoss. It's just not an ideal map for Zerg whatsoever, and Protoss doesn't really enjoy playing against it either. So like, how exactly do you deal with it, right? Like, if you play a best of 3, why in the world would you keep something like Last Fantasy in the map pool? You feel like maps should have a dedicated tournament pool of good maps that are properly balanced? Yeah, but that's really difficult to achieve. Like, any map that has a weird feature on it is immediately going to be favoring one race over the other. Like, in a perfect scenario, that wouldn't be the case. But there are simply certain strategies that will benefit from certain map designs better than others. Like if you have a map where you have a lot of bases that you can very easily take, you will see a lot of players turtling, right? And then if we have, for example, what we have in the current meta of Zerg versus Protoss, where Zerg players are struggling to beat Protoss in the late game, well, then you're going to see Protoss turtling and Zerg desperately trying to prevent them from turtling. There's no easy answer. It should just be minerals and gas on both extremes of the map and then flat, empty land in between. Yeah, and maybe we can, like, then also turn that land into, like, a grid. And we can label it from, like, A all the way to, you know, we just make, like, an 8x8 grid. And if, like, one of your units goes to the other side of the map, like one of your basic units, you can upgrade it to, like, the strongest unit. Yeah, and everybody, like, we could get rid of the real-time aspect. So, like, APM doesn't really matter anymore, and we can just, like, take turns instead. I think we're really getting to the bottom of this.
What I would actually change, like I said, it's a complicated matter. I wouldn't make one of these, like, balanced proposals.
Instead of patches, what about StarCraft 3? Cytron, I like the way you think.
Videos, because like I said, it needs a lot of testing. The changes, like, you need to test them. You can't just, like, make up, like, a list like this and, like, here are my changes, this is gonna make the game better. You need to test, and if you test, you can also make crazy changes. So, like, if you actually want to have change, and this is just, like...
But the only way you're gonna get programmers to test the crazy changes for a certain period of time is if there are tournaments hosted on those crazy patches. And again, that would require funds. And that would be something that, you know, a company like Blizzard could easily organize.
Dreaming, obviously, this is never gonna happen. But we need proper testing, and we need strong changes.
So basically, if Pig wanted to make this patch, right, he could, like, he could make it in the editor or have somebody make it in the editor, and then you could host, like, a month-long tournament series on it. So programmers will actually be iterative about their strategies. But obviously, that would cost a stupid amount of money, and we're all just a bunch of guys. Like, nobody's getting rich off of StarCraft, man.
changes are not gonna happen with like something like the Balance Council, because the Balance Council is just like an argument, because the Balance Council is just like pro gamers arguing between each other. I explained it the other time. There's like more like politics where like if I'm part of the Balance Council, I want Terran to be buff because I make money from StarCraft like in tournaments. So I'm like biased. I want to have like Terran win tournaments. So if I was part of the Balance Council, I would try to push for Terran buffs. But it's like kind of like politics. You have to like sound reasonable so people take you serious. But your intention is bad. Like your intention is, I want Terran to be buffed. I need to sound like I'm a competent.
Are you trying to suggest, HeroMarine, that certain politicians are saying things to make themselves sound better while just being in it for their own personal gains?
Basically. So what I would actually change in StarCraft 2, and that's like another discussion video. One thing that I feel like in game design in StarCraft that I just don't like, I don't like rapid fire in StarCraft 2. That's what I would change. I think rapid fire is not nice. I would prefer playing StarCraft 2 without rapid fire. Now, obviously, that would have huge impact on the balance. What kind of impact, once again, I can't really tell you. I mean, I know which units benefits from like rapid fire and which not. For example, Protoss Warbands would be nerfed significantly.
Ravager Biles, Snipes, literally all of the things that are repetitive.
Ghost would be nerfed.
Literally the entirety of the Zerg production.
Significantly, for instance. But also Zerg, like Ravager Biles and whatever. But yeah, like that's, for example, something I always think of. In my opinion, rapid fire should not be part of the game. I don't think it's something Blizzard ever really intended to make. It's something people came up with after checking out the hotkey system in StarCraft, and people just came up with that to like replace like the left mouse button on like Snipe, for example, on like the hotkey for Snipe, so you would just have to like hover your mouse. I don't think Blizzard ever really intended for that, but it has never really seemed like a problem. So I'm not sure about it, but that's my take. It's for discussion. But I mean, that's honestly something I would change. But that should already be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And
he brings up some really good points. Ultimately, and this is a crazy take, ultimately it would be incredibly beneficial if there was some, you know, like some company, say hypothetically some organization that like owns the intellectual property to then also actually put in a little bit of effort, like not even a lot, but like just like a little bit of effort into trying to like help with the longevity. We need an adult. Yes, we're all a bunch of toddlers just shouting at each other and trying to make the game better, and we all believe that we have great ideas, but what we really need is an adult. That would require caring about the IP, and caring costs money. Yeah, but the thing is, they are already spending money. Like, just having the servers up costs money. It's not free to run this game. So, like, they're all, like, I'm not saying that the alternative is to just shut the servers down. But if we're already spending money, and like obviously then you get back again to the whole money argument, right? Like we've had that discussion a million times before. There's no way, if they wanted to make some money in StarCraft 2, they could certainly make money in StarCraft 2. Like there's no way that they wouldn't. The problem is, of course, that they perceive it as not enough money. And that is well within their right because they own the freaking game, but it's just all very frustrating, man. It's all just very frustrating. It would be really nice, though, if they just have, like, not even a lot of people, but just, like, a small team, man. Just a small team of people. One guy that, like, occasionally cooks up a new co-op commander. You know what I mean? Like, technically, they own the rights to, at the very least, I believe, everything in the arcade. And there are, like, literally dozens of, like, ready-made co-op commanders that you could just like iterate on a little bit, maybe make slightly better, and then sell for $10. You know, like that would definitely make enough money to just have a few dudes working on the project. Now, obviously, at this point, all the people that actually understand the legacy code of this are gone, so you would probably have to train people, and it gets very messy. But yeah. It'd be so nice though, because this game is so freaking good.